Shooter Devin Kelly had a troubled past. He had received a bad conduct discharge from the Air Force in 2014. Also a court-martial in 2012 for assaulting his spouse and child. Now that should have made it illegal for him to buy guns. Still, we've learned that he bought 2 of the 4 guns in Colorado. The question, of course, now is how he got those guns. And 9 News reporter Marshall Zellinger is in Colorado Springs. Marshall, the Air Force is now saying this happened because they didn't pass along information.
Tom, in the last hour, the Air Force has admitted that after the shooter's conviction, they never turned over that domestic violence offense to the national database that the FBI uses to determine if you're eligible or not to own a gun. As you said, 2 of those guns were bought in Colorado sometime after he moved to this RV park in 2014. The no trespassing signs at this RV park just outside of downtown Colorado Springs were up long before we learned the Texas shooter lived here in 2014. Near this parking spot, he was cited for cruelty to animals when neighbors saw him abusing his dog. He lived here after getting a bad conduct discharge from the Air Force, for which he received 1-year confinement for assaulting his wife and child. That charge should have kept him from buying guns in Colorado. The ATF says 2 of the guns with him in Texas were bought in Colorado.
Especially if the criminal conviction relates to an assault on your wife, then it would be a domestic violence conviction. And if you have a domestic violence conviction, you are prohibited from possessing, much less purchasing, a weapon.
This is the form he would have had to fill out to buy a gun, which asks, have you ever been convicted in any court of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence? That should have been yes and ended the transaction. The Air Force is now investigating why it did not update the national database with that domestic violence offense. Something else that needs to be investigated is how did the shooter fill out the background check forms when he bought the guns in Colorado? Did he mislead the store by checking a box no that should have been marked yes, or did the store miss something that should have ended the transaction, Tom? This is one of the reasons that stores keep these for investigations just like this.
Well, there's still a lot more to sort out. Marshall, thanks. Marshall Zellinger again with us down in Colorado Springs.
Roy Halladay, the baseball legend who grew up in the shadow of the Rocky Mountains, died today at the age of 40 when his small plane crashed off the coast of Florida. He was the best starting pitcher to ever come out of Colorado. Since he was a little boy, Roy Halladay loved 2 things: airplanes and baseball.
You could see he was going to be special. I mean, he threw harder than anybody we had. He was a little bit wild, but you could tell there was something special there.
Take it from someone who knew. Roy Halladay was something special. His father knew it, built him a batting cage in his basement in Arvada, where a 5-year-old's first throws through a tire built the foundation for a career that the Hall of Fame should consider.
It's sad to say it's a friend of ours. It's Roy Halladay. Many know Roy as a Cy Young winner, future Hall of Famer, one of the best pitchers to ever pitch in the game of baseball. We know Roy as a person.
Take it from someone who knew. Roy Halladay was something special. Baseball was good to him, and Halladay was good to the communities he called home.
I could speak as somebody who knew him. He was a part of our sheriff's office. His kids went to school with some of our kids. He was there whenever we needed him.
Doc Halladay, the fans called him. Call Doc at the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, and a canine will come running. The dog purchased for the department by Halladay. At Arvada West, his name is written on the baseball field and spoken proudly by generations of students who benefited from his generosity.
Being a pilot, flying planes, that was his passion.
A passion young Roy got from his father, a commercial pilot, the man who raised him to love 2 things, airplanes and baseball. Both took him around America, leaving behind people who knew Roy Halladay was something special.
He was 1 in a million. It is a true loss for us.
Roy Halladay was so dominant in the majors, it's easy to forget there was a time when his career fell apart, and he built it back up, relearning a new way to pitch. I recommend that you read a beautifully written Sports Illustrated piece, Tom Verducci's What Makes Roy Run. It chronicles how he feared coming home to Colorado as a failure when he was demoted to the minors, and how his unmatched preparation and training rebuilt his career. It also details the role of his wife, Brandy, another Coloradan, in shaping that comeback. We have a link to the SI piece on the next Facebook page. Norman Harris Sr. came home to Colorado from World War II and ran businesses and apartment buildings in Denver's Five Points neighborhood. Do anything well enough for long enough, And your passing one day will be noted as a great loss to the community. 5 points. Denver, all of Colorado, lost Norman Harris Sr. last week at the age of 99.
That's the heartbeat of the community. Mr. Harris was the heartbeat of the community.
Norman Harris Sr. He commanded a lot of respect. People really honored my grandfather.
I mean, this entire block is Mr. Harris, the whole piece. And it's going to be hard to, pass this building and think about, Mr. Harris not being here.
He died just this past Friday. He was 99. One of his biggest contributions to the community was that particular building on 26th and Welton.
He was not only a businessman, but he was also a part of the cultural fabric of the 5 Points.
He loved the 5 Points. There was quite a bit of prestige that a person had by owning a business and owning a property on 5 Points.
So he will be celebrated not only as a businessman, not only as a cultural, historical icon, but also someone who helped create the country that we're living in through his military service.
He never gave up. He chased his dream. He's a big dreamer.
With the passing of Mr. Harris, it is almost as if the closing of an era has occurred in this community.
No matter what happens to you, no matter what obstacle you face, no matter who tells you you can't do it, there's a way. My grandfather's life was a testament to that.
Norman Harris Sr.'s funeral will be held 1 week from today. It's in 5 Points at Taylor Mortuary at 11 o'clock. Anyone who knew him is welcome there. On Colorado's busiest interstates, for every minute that a lane is blocked, it takes 4 minutes to get traffic back to normal. If you drive I-25, especially through the tech center, that statistic stings, especially on a day like today, when a trash truck fire blocked the Bellevue ramp onto southbound. It is the third high-profile crash on that stretch of I-25 in 6 months. You'll remember the big tanker fire back in May. Seemed odd to us. So Steve Steger called around town and found out, it seems pretty strange to the first responders as well.
It's odd. It's really odd to see.
South Metro Fire did not handle this morning's garbage truck fire on the entrance ramp at Bellevue, but they've handled 2 other odd accidents on I-25 in the last 6 months, about a mile away. The most recent, this truck that hopped the concrete barrier near Orchard last week. The other, that tanker fire that tied up traffic across the metro area back at the end of May. So as a reporter, I asked South Metro spokesman Eric Hurst the obvious question: what's up with that stretch of highway?
I don't have an easy answer.
But his answer was interesting enough. The folks at South Metro have a theory about this stretch of highway. It just seems to be unlucky when it comes to high-profile accidents.
And this is a black and white photograph, roughly I-25 and Orchard Road.
A history dating back to September of 1959 and a cattle truck that rolled over, making its way down the Valley Highway.
17 cows actually died in the accident, and the result of that was a butcher came out and there was a community barbecue.
And since then, that stretch of highway has seen accidents that have made more headlines, including a plane crash from the 80s.
And this was a small aircraft that had taken off from Centennial Airport.
A U-Haul crashed in the mid-90s, making national headlines and leading to lawsuits.
So in the early 1990s, as we were going through the archives, there's photographs of a tanker up against the concrete median on I-25 just north of Orchard Road, almost the same exact spot where the tanker fire occurred in 2017.
To the foot. So what is it about this stretch of highway?
I wish I had some kind of an answer or something creative or a name like Bermuda Triangle for it, but I don't have anything.
Maybe you do. So CDOT might have an answer. They say that stretch of the highway at Bellevue is one of the most congested in the metro area. 266,000 cars on average make their way through that area each day. By the way, South Metro says there's one other hot spot for structure fires. They say Bellevue and Yosemite. They've seen a lot of structure fires in that area, including the first recorded fire by that agency back in the 50s.
It's interesting to get their take on it. All right, thank you, Steve.
Democratic state lawmaker reveals her Me Too story. And now Democrats statewide are asking for one of their own to resign. Democratic State Representative Faith Winter says she was sexually harassed by Democratic State Representative Steve Lebsock at a party last year. And both lawmakers talked with our Marshall Zelling.
Winter detailed for me the sexual harassment she says she endured at the end of legislative session party in May 2016. Suggestive statements and uncomfortable offers from a fellow Democratic lawmaker. Winter told me that State Representative Steve Lebsock, which we have footage of him from interviews we've done in the past, just not today, that he knew her husband was out of town and offered to, quote, do things to me that my husband had never done. This happened in May 2016 at an end-of-year party at Stoney's Bar, just 3 blocks from the state capitol. Winter told me this encounter was witnessed by a few of her lawmaker friends and that she went to the leadership at the Capitol about this, but chose not to take it any farther. So why is she reporting this 18 months after it happened?
After the situation happened, he did apologize. He very much wanted me to tell him what he said, and I was not comfortable doing that. After the situation happened, he did apologize. He very much wanted me to tell him what he said, and I was not comfortable doing that.
Winter told me she agreed not to take this beyond Capitol leadership unless she found out it happened again. This week, she found out someone else accused him of sexual harassment. I spoke with Lebsock on the phone about the accusations.
I do not remember ever saying anything that was out of line to anyone at the Capitol.
Do you have any intention on resigning?
Marshall, I'm going to be fair to all the reporters that are contacting me, and I'm going to have a statement that will come out this afternoon.
Do you think Representative Lebsock should resign?
It is not why I came forward, but it seems like an appropriate course of action.